Hello, everyone. So thank you very much for attending this webinar. And I'm so glad that we're still able to run this webinar as scheduled. I hope everyone is staying safe and hopefully the situation will get better very soon. So the topic for today's webinar is a user-friendly approach to customer support with Jira Service Desk. Oh, okay. So yeah, let's get started. Okay, first I would like to introduce ourselves. So I'll go first. I'm Irene. So I'm Atlassian Certified Master. I'm working as a lead Atlassian consultant at the Dragon Agile. And I'm also leading the Dragon Agile office here in Waterloo. Matt, do you want to do an introduction about yourself?
Yeah, hi, I'm Matt Campbell, and I am an IT manager at ATS Automation. We've been working with Jira since November of 2017, and Irene asked me to come and chat about some of our experiences in Jira, and I'm very excited to share what we've learned and share with everyone on the call today.
Okay, that's great. So here I also want to introduce a Dragon Agile for people who don't know who we are. We are Atlassian solution partner. Just like any other partner, we offer licensing, implementation, training, customization, and support for Atlassian products. And globally, we are Atlassian Platinum Solution Partner. We have offices in Waterloo here, and also in Shanghai, China, Tokyo, and Hong Kong. So that's today's agenda. First, we will talk about a difference between service desk versus help desk. After that, I will dive into a little bit about the Jira Service Desk fundamentals for people who are new to Jira Service Desk. Even for people who already have some experience with Jira Service Desk, you may take away some tips, hopefully. And then after that, we'll share some tips and challenges that users may face. And we will also list some useful apps that can be used to extend Jira Service Desk features. And after my presentation, that will be Matt's presentation for. And Matt, do you want to talk about what you are going to cover in this webinar?
Yeah, so I'll be talking about how we got Jira, how we used it, and some of the trials and tribulations we had and how we overcame them, and talk about some of the advantages and benefits we've got now that we're fully up and running using Service Desk and Confluence and Jira.
Oh, that's great. And at the end, we always have some question and answer sessions. So you are welcome to submit your questions during the presentation. And we will take a look at the end of the presentation, and hopefully we have an answer for you. So yeah, so let's get started. So first, let's take a look at what's the difference between Service Desk and the Help Desk. People, when they're new to Service Desk, they tend to be confused by the term of Service Desk versus Help Desk. They may wonder if Service Desk is just another name of Help Desk. Well, the main focus of Help Desk is actually fixing issues. Help Desk are usually limited to one single activity. Maybe often it's instant management. On the other hand, a service desk actually focuses on delivering services to its customers. The customer focus found in service desk is missing in help desk. So in service desk, that may include a variety of tasks such as knowledge management, IT asset management, incident management, and service change problem management. So in that sense, help desk is like a subset of service desk. So next, let's dive into some fundamental elements within a Jira Service Desk. In the next session, I'm going to cover the following topics. So we will take a look at how a Jira Service Desk project looks in the agent view and also in a customer view with customer portal. And after that, we'll talk about the queues, how a ticket can be organized with queue within Jira Service Desk. And then we talk about request types, how to configure the request types. And after that, we also talk about customer permission. So who can access the who can raise the ticket? So with the customer permission, and also what kinds of emails, what kinds of notifications customer will receive. And then we also take a look at the SLAs and automations, how automation can help streamline some processes. And of course, we will also cover Jira Service Desk and conference integration. This is really useful together with conference. Then this will enable your customer to self-help. And we also touch on like email, how to configure email requests, the workflows, and at the end we take a look at the report dashboard. So there's lots of topics to cover. So I tried, our time is only like totally 1 hour. So I try to go as fast as possible to squeeze into 15 minutes. So let's get started. All right, so this is a agent view of a Jira Service Desk project. And on the left panel, there is also a channel. You can see a URL. When we open up, this is a UI screen that your customer will see. That's called Customer Support Portal. And here they can select a ticket type, a request type. And once they click on a request type, customer is able to type in some basic information, such as summary of the issues and the description about this issue. After that, they can click on create. Then the ticket is submitted. And that is what customer can see in their customer portal about that ticket. Now let's go back to the agent. In agent, once ticket is created, it probably will fall into one of those queues. Queues are a way to group tickets together. It's better to organize all your tickets based on certain criteria. So for example, waiting approval queue. If we click on edit queues, we can see that you can give a queue a name, and also you can give a queue a filter that filtering out what kinds of issue list that you want to include in your queue. Now let's take a look. Let's create a new queue here as an example. So we create a queue called testing queue, and then after that you will select what kinds of issues you want to include in your queue by JQL. In this case, we're just using a simple search without writing any JQL. Once we create click on create, we see that the testing queue is being created, and that's one issue that match the criteria. So next, let's take a look at project settings. Inside project settings, there is a request type. In this screen, we can see there are already lots of request types are being configured. Request types can be grouped into groups. If you have more than like 7 request types, best practice, it's recommended that you're using a group to grouping them, so it's easier for customer to find a request type. So now let's click on a grouping here. And also there is one feature in Jira Service Desk that's hidden from portal. You can create a request type, but it's hidden from your customer, maybe just for your agent to use. Now, when we click on a request type in this example, it landed on the issue view. In this screen, you can add a field that how an agent should be viewing the issue. And also there is a request form. Request form is for customer to see. Now let's go to the workflow starters. Here in this workflow starters, you can define what would be the customer facing starters. Say in Jira Service Desk, there is a workflow that control how issue going through during its life cycle, going through from one status to the other one. But you may not want to show customers exactly where the issue is at internally. Instead, you can give a customer-facing name so that customer just need to know, oh, it's in progress or agent working on that. That's the purpose of this configuration. So now let's take a look at this customer permission. Like say in Jira Service Desk, you can create a public customer portal, or you can also create a restrict a portal that only intended to for your internal team to use. This is a screen where you can configure. So you can select if your portal is public, that means any random people, they can raise a ticket without logging in. And also you can define who customer can share that ticket with. Okay, let's continue. So now let's take a look at the customer notifications. So say customer will get notifications when they create a ticket or any event happen, like someone made a comment, agent share a public comment to the customer, they will receive notifications. And the message template can be configured with this screen. At the bottom, you can see with this template, you can see the preview, how the message looks like to a customer. And of course, for every individual event, there is a message. You may want to send out a different message for different event, and that is also configurable within the Jira Service Desk. And this is again the preview how the message will be delivered once you configure it. Now let's take a look at SLA. So SLAs are it's used to measure time between two conditions. It's a time matrix defined how and when time will be measured. So SLA usually have a starting condition and the end condition, stop condition. And you can also pause on certain conditions. Say you are waiting for customer to provide more information. You probably don't want the time, a clock to count, because those time it's not for your agent to work. Your agent did not spend the time. And also in SLA, you can set a goal. The goal it's a measurement to define how fast you would like your team to work on certain type of issues. So you can create lots of goals for different set of issues. For example, higher priority, you probably want to set a short-term goal like 30 minutes. So that will be used to compare with the actual time that agent spent on. So you can know that if the goal is being breached, SLA is being breached or not. Now let's take a look at automation. In Jira Service Desk, there is some built-in automations to help help your team streamline some process. The automation usually comes with like a 3-stage. First, it needs to know when something happens, that's a trigger. After that, you can set a condition to select what kinds of issues you would like to select to examine if the condition, if this automation rule should apply to. So in this case, we select the issues that has the higher priority. So once the condition is set, you can set the actions. In this case, we say for higher priority, we would like to assign all the tickets to certain assignee. So it's very easy to set up automation. There is no coding needed. You just need to know, it's just few steps configuration. Now we create an automation rule, a custom automation rule. It's great. Cool. Now let's take a look at I believe next one will be the knowledge base. And like I mentioned before, so Jira Service Desk alone, it's great. It's a great tool by itself, but combined with Conference, it brings the power to next level, because this you will actually enable your customer to help themselves with some knowledge-based articles without even raising a ticket. In this screen, you can configure which conference space can would be linked to current Jira Service Desk project. And you can also select to allow your customers to see the conference articles without any license. So it doesn't consume any conference license for your customer. And this is the space, the conference space that in this example that being linked to our Jira Service Desk project. Here, let's do a test. So say we are just about to raise a ticket and we type in the words broken in a summary. Now, as you can see at the bottom, there will be an article being suggested. It's a broken keyboard, and that maybe it's exactly what you are looking for. By clicking on this article, the content will be displayed in the customer portal. So by reading this information, maybe it has already solved your problem. You may decide that you don't need to raise a ticket. So that's a great tool for it unload agents lots of work. Now let's take a look at the email request. So in Jira Service Desk, we mentioned that the customer raised tickets in the customer support portal, but there is another way that the customers can raise tickets. That's by sending an email directly to a supporting email. And this is the screen. The instance that we used to do the demo here, it's a cloud instance. By default, you always get a default supporting email. So let's take a look at the configuration of this email. So for every supporting email, you can map a default request type. Whenever customers send an email to this email address, it'll be mapped to a default request type. Let's do a test again here. Say from this Gmail, assuming I'm already in the customer list, oh, this is a public portal. So I'm going to send an email, computer not starting. That's my subject. And then I type in the email message in the body. Now I send the email to the supporting emails. When we go back to Jira Service Desk, in the agent view, click on the queues. Let's take a look if that email has been turned into a ticket. So yeah, we found the ticket. So computer not starting, it's right there. And as you can see, the subject of the email will become the summary, and the email message body will become the description, and the request type, because we map it to the default get IT help, and that will automatically become get IT help. So that's pretty cool. So next, let's take a look at the workflow. So in Jira Service Desk, there are a lot of templates. When you create the Jira Service Desk, you can select one template. Here we use the IT support template. Once it's created, we can see there are few workflows that each workflow map to a different issue type. And this workflow, let's dive into this workflow. This is a service request fulfillment workflow. You can see inside workflow, there is always status, transitions. In the status, when you click on the status, you can assign a approver who you want to approve when each ticket go to that status. And on this transition, there you can also set the conditions, validators, and post functions. Those advanced features for the transition. And you can also define, I believe, yeah, in this, you can also define a transition screen. In this case, whenever an issue flow from waiting for support go to pending, there will be a screen pop up forcing the agent to fill in what is a pending reason. So that would be good. So if they want to transition to next pending status, they have to tell, they have to fill in this information. I believe in this demo, so we also you can add, say, this is out of box workflow. You certainly can modify on top of that. Say if you have a need to add a new transition, you can do so. The same thing for status too. So if the status here, you feel like you need a slightly modification to fit into your team's, your business needs, you can add a new status. But it's always good using the out of box as the starting point. That probably will save you lots of work. Now, let's take a look at the dashboard features in Jira Service Desk. So in Jira Service Desk, it has like a very powerful reporting features. In dashboard, you can add lots of gadgets that can display in different bar graph or pie chart to show you the statistics about how your team is performing, what kinds of tickets your team is working on, and the status, like in which stage they are on. So in Jira Service Desk, you can create multiple dashboards. So for different audience, for example, for agent, the agent wants to know some information that's important for them, such as the issues assigned to them or issues that it's in my higher priorities, and they may care about but then your manager or your upper level, like management team, they may want different information from the agent view, and that's why it's possible that you may need to create different kinds of dashboards to target for different audience. So I think that will wrap up our presentation for Jira Service Desk fundamentals. So here, I would like to share some challenges. So it's great that there are so many features in Jira Service Desk out of box, but when you actually use it, just from time to time, you may run into some challenges because the solution may not be so straightforward or apparent at the first sight. So we would like to share in today's webinar 3 tips and challenges with audience. So here is one. So I got some customer come to ask me, say, if I have multiple supporting emails, how do I use it for one Jira Service Desk project? Remember before I mentioned each Jira Service Desk project that you can have a mail supporting email. But yeah, so let's see. The problem is one Jira Service project can map to only one mail supporting email. And that supporting email can only map to one default request type. But then when a question like this come out, they say, I have a multiple supporting email, and ideally I would like to map to each different request type. How do I do that? So we do have a solution for that. So we can forward, the solution here is we forward sub emails to the main supporting email. Because in Jira Service Desk, any sub emails the emails being forwarded or added into the CC field, it actually automatically become a participant upon the ticket creation. So using that information, so combined with automation rule, we can check who is the participant upon ticket creation. And after that, we can change the request type to the corresponding request type based on the participant. So it's a little bit tricky, but it works. It works. So next challenge we would like to see, and this is quite common. So people usually want to know, how do I get notified before my ticket SLA it's going to be breached, right? So they wanted to know, for example, 8 hours before, so that I would like to get notified so I can still have enough time to work on those higher priority soon to be breached tickets. Well, it's actually already something similar feature in out-of-box feature using the automation. The only thing is there are two limitations here. The first one is the ESRA breach condition, the trigger, they only allow you to set 60 minutes, 30 minutes, or at the time it's already breached, right? So it's not possible to adjust, say, oh, I want it 8 hours before. Second one, it's when they alert people, you have to put in a specific person as if you already know who you want to alert, but you want assignee, so you don't know at the moment. So how do we do that? So instead of using automation, we can use a filter, and we create a filter like below, and put assignee its current user, and subscribe the whole group to this filter, and making sure that group contains all the possible assignee. After that, you can schedule when the email will be sending out. But important is at the bottom, do not send out email if no issue found. This will make sure the assignee only receive their own issue email notifications. The third one would be like a Jira Service Desk integration with Slack and the MS team. So people tend to, especially in current situation, lots of people probably working from home, just like us. So the Slack and those communication tools become really important. So integration with Slack, and there is already some like a free app on the market. You can do the basic integration. You can see some basic information from Jira to Slack or MS team channel. But what if you want to see more details information? Say you want to know a certain value from a custom field, so that free app it's not capable of doing that. So luckily we have automation for Jira, and that actually provides lots of integration with these tools. So you can pull out a lot more detailed information and post it onto your Slack channel or MS Team channel. So yeah, so it's lots of information here. Now let's dive into some useful apps that can be used to extend the Jira Service Desk functionality. So usually there are three groups on the market. It's IT Service Manager, Monitoring, Customer Support. Here, I would like to turn to my team, and Paul, would you like to start with your first app?
Yeah, thank you, Irene. The first app we have is extension for Jira Service Desk. This app allows communication between customers and agents to be clear and effective. This app is great for customizing how your customer portal works, and by doing so, you can better manage what type and how much information you want from your customers as they create the request. This is made possible by the two main features that this app provides: dynamic forms and request details views. Next slide, please. Thank you. Dynamic form allows each custom or out-of-the-box fields to have their own validators and conditions. Using validators, you can create rules that apply to dynamic fields that customers must satisfy in order to create their tickets. Example, you can ensure that a text field must have at least 50 characters. Using conditions, you can choose what dynamic fields will become visible based on the information given to other fields. Very similar to validators, you can set certain rules to other fields, and if all the conditions are met, the dynamic field will become visible to the customer. Dynamic fields ensure that agents will start with a sufficient amount of information when issues are assigned to them. Next slide, please. Thank you. You will also be able to change the way customers view issues in the customer portal. When viewing issues in the customer portal, the amount of information given is very limited. However, with this plugin, you will be able to provide more information to the customers, such as SLAs, other fields, and linked issues. Overall, this app is a great tool to keep the communication between customers and agents efficient and transparent. Next slide, please. Next, we have CRM for Jira. This is extremely useful for those who have large amounts of organizations and customers but find it tedious to manage them all. CRM for Jira allows easy management for all of your organizations and customers. This is because it introduces companies and contacts into your instance. Next slide, please. each company and contact has their own separate cards, and these cards are filled with various information that is put into fields. You can also customize these cards so that information pertaining to each company and or contact has exactly what you need. CRM for Jira also provides a single user-friendly page to hold all of your companies and contacts, making it very easy and convenient to access all of your cards. Next slide, please. Another helpful feature is linking the company's information to issues. You're able to directly put information from the company's cards onto their tickets. This allows for easy transfer of data so that agents working on the ticket will have more details about the company that raised the request. To conclude, CRM for Jira makes managing all of your organizations and customers very simple, great for those who find it difficult to do otherwise. Next, we have my fellow team member Jarvis, who will talk about a few more apps.
Thank you, Paul. So another great app that's extremely useful for any
Oops. Oops. Oh,
instance.
your voice is not
This
clear.
was purchased recently by and
Jarvis, yeah. Can you? Okay, continue. Hello?
okay. It automates processes so your team doesn't have to.
Much better.
It automates processes like transitioning an issue, auto commenting, or auto updating fields. So it makes the life of your team easier and faster. It includes a multitude such as lots of different triggers like webhooks, SLAs, or scheduling, and has a built-in script runner so it's integratable with other apps. Additionally, it already comes integrated with communication tools like Slack and MS Teams. Automation for Jira is only for server and database, but only because it comes pre-built into the cloud instant. Here on your project settings, next slide, you'll see automation in your project settings, which holds all your project automation rules. Creating new automation rules are extremely simple. Next slide. As automation for Jira follows a no-code rule, which means it doesn't use code, but rather simple if-else blocks, so even non-programmers can easily use this feature. Overall, automation for Jira is a must-have for those who need a fast and efficient work team. Next slide. For our next step, it's for those who have large companies or many assets. Insight Asset Management is what you guys need. Insight provides a web interface that allows you to easily manage your assets and see how Jira issues directly impact those assets. It provides a similar web interface to Jira, so it's relatively easy to use for prior Jira users. Next slide, please. It presents great visuals to see how assets are connected through Jira issues and provides you a clear overview of how your company is managed. You can see which assets have more issues and which has the least. So you can determine whether it's profitable for an asset to keep or better to let go. It also connects regular Jira operations, as all issues linked to the asset will be listed underneath the object. So it's easier to see how day-to-day operations of the company affect the company's standing as a whole. Overall, I would recommend Insight for those with many assets or just a lot to manage, as it makes viewing and understanding information a whole lot easier. Finally, our last app is only for server and data center, but I find it extremely useful for those who need lots of reports. This is Rich Filters for Jira Dashboards by Qt Labs. It provides a multitude of gadgets on the Jira dashboard that allows for many different ways of displaying information. Next slide. It uses filters to filter out which issues to display information on. Then, through the gadgets, you can choose a rich filter to report on. This allows all the gadgets that use the same rich filter to be controlled by the rich filter controller that will auto-update all the gadgets the settings you choose. So this allows for fast and on the click. Rich Filters comes with some special features such as custom values and time series. Custom values allow you to report on numeric fields and calculates formulas such as averages, min, and max values for them. Time series calculates date fields and reports on the average or number of issues and how long they took to complete a task. This allows for a very flexible way of displaying information in many different ways, more so than the inbuilt Jira Service Desk reports. Overall, rich filters allow you to create quick and easy to understand reports and makes interpreting Jira information extremely easy. Fortunately, as I said, it is only for server and data center and not for cloud.
Thank you, Jarvis, and thank you, Paul. So that's great information. So like say there are over 700 apps for Jira Service Desk on the market. But if you still cannot find that the features you are looking for to extend the Jira Service Desk out-of-box features, there's two other ways you can still create your own scripting using the app like Script Runner to write some groovy script to extend the functionality from automation to customize the notification even to the UI element. And of course, even advanced, you can develop your app for server or for cloud instance. So there are two other options possible out there. So great. So we have done so many content now. It's time. I'm going to turn to Matt. And I had the opportunities to work with Matt, helping out Jira Service Desk configurations for ATS Automation. And today it's my great pleasure to have Matt here to do the presentation with me together. So Matt, do you want to start your story?
Sure. Thank you, Irene. Yeah, I'll share. So what I wanted to do is to share our journey with Jira and kind of where we started and where we're headed. So back, we deployed Jira Server, Jira Service Desk, and Confluence back in November of 2017. Before that, we were actually using SharePoint with some custom code to be able to do our ticketing. So the way I phrased my talk here is why Jira Service Desk didn't work for ATS and how we fixed it. So when we first rolled it out, we kind of went very plain vanilla with it. You can see on the left, we had just your typical kind of Jira standard looking. You had your different service desks on the left, and then your options on the right. The problem with how we were originally set up with this was our users were then just given all of the options up front and they didn't know what to pick. On the back side, we had over 45 IT personnel working on these tickets, and we don't use a triage person. We were trying to use automation to route the right tickets to the right people at the right time. This is also very important because we have an SLA that we share with our customer to say, our internal customers, letting them know that we are working on the tickets. I should specify, just because at the beginning they're talking about, we only service our internal employees. We have about 4,500 employees worldwide. So you can see about 1% there is IT. And so that's kind of what's going on. The reason I bring that up is what we were trying to do was create a lot of data points so we could measure. So the users wouldn't put their tickets in the right queue. So then we would add more drop downs into it, trying to get the right data point so we could route it to the right spot. And we tackled this for almost over a year there. And then we were looking at ways to make it graphically better for our users and to make it more clean on how our users can get to the right tickets at the right time. Because if they put their information in correctly, it's going to go to the right IT person who can solve it quickly and get them back up and running, opposed to going to a different team that doesn't work. So what you can see is the image on the right. What we did is we switched from having everything in your face is you go into put in a ticket and you're just hit with, do you have an incident? Is something broken you need fixed right now? Or do you need a service request? Is there something we can help you with, or do you need access to something? And then once they click one, we ask more questions. So I chose to share a screenshot on the incident side. Is it an application? Is it hardware? Is it a security issue? Is it server or network? From there, all they have to do is then click on the issue, and you get the typical Jira pop-up there. And you can see now we can ask them very little questions. I already know it's an incident. I know it's an application. And in this case, I know it's a CRM one because they chose that. I just need a summary, a couple of drop downs just to understand where their problem is, and away we go. The other thing that we did was when we first rolled out, we gave our users the ability to put in priority, and to no one's surprise, every ticket was a priority one because everybody is important. So when you're dealing with the amount of issues that we're doing, not everyone can be a P1. In our SLA, we couldn't support that. So now what we do is we actually ask our users to put in the impact. How much impact is this going to be? Is this impacting just you locally? You can't get into your account, or our ERP system is down and no one can work. So that's how that grows. And then we also ask urgency. Is this something you need right now? You're sitting at your desk, you can't work, or can you work around this a little bit? From there, we're using automation tools to calculate the priority based on those drop downs. And when they come in, IT still has the ability to downgrade it if they feel that it's not there, and we communicate that back with our users. But what this does is it allows the user to just explain the problem and lets the automation present it on how we should work with it. Because we have so much IT, we're all fairly specialized in different departments. If you were to ask me to fix a computer, I would look at you very confused. But on an application side is where I am. So because we're walking through these paths, it's getting the tickets to the right person at the right time. We have roughly about a 90% success that's getting to the right people. And then all you need to do is when it's not, you move it back to something called a resolver group, which means a different team will look after it. And obviously, doing this all inside of the system is because what we're looking for is the data. And so what we do is we use rich filters, and we cross-section the data over and over and over again to look for those trends, to look where we're heavy, to look when we're not, to look at which applications are causing the most issues versus what applications are running fine. Is it a division or a segment inside of ATS that has more problems than the other? So is this a training issue? All of these things are being looked at, and we cross and slice and we dice to find those trends. And then the handy thing with using Jira with the rich filters is I can have all my drop downs along the very top, picking how I want to slice the data. So, and then all of our IT staff can do that, and we can understand where we are and where we need to put our effort. You can kind of see on the chart on the right top there. Obviously around December time, we don't get a lot of tickets. We probably don't need to be fully staffed up there. You can see a huge spike. Realistically, that was probably a new application that went out, and there was a lot of emergency support as people adjust to the changes and all that. So this is the huge power beside for using Service Desk, I find, is your ability to look at the data afterwards and be able to make those decisions on how to empower the business by making sure you're staffed and you're providing the right resources to solve the right problems at the right time. So then we want to talk a little bit about how Jira Service Desk serves ATS. So what we've done that's a little not out of the box but works for us is we still use the assignee in the reporter, but we created a custom field called Resolver Group. And that would be basically your client support, your network, your ERP support and such. And tickets go into that group, into a queue. And from there, they get assigned in. What this does is it allows us to work as a team to solve tickets opposed to always being one person. Our SLAs are visible, so we work within our SLAs, we measure our SLAs, and we're always striving to hit them. A big part of using Jira Service Desk is it's a single version of the truth. If someone says, I emailed someone for support, that's great. But if it's not in the system, it doesn't count. So we have that single source, we have dates, we have tracking, we have visibility on what's going on. It is the only spot where we can have the conversation. So this is huge, especially for any organization where you don't want data silos in different spots, and having everything support related in one spot is ideal. Reporting. So like I said, reporting, I shared one dashboard. We have hundreds that we use for different spots inside of Jira. We're constantly looking at our data. We use Service Desk, but the business also uses Jira as a tool to support themselves through action items through the project lifecycle. Our software teams are using it as well. So what that means is Jira is becoming more and more a part of how ATS works and allows us to all understand how we're working and understanding the system. So I find that makes for a smoother transition with working inside of the business. And the very cool part that we use is Confluence for our knowledge management. So what you didn't really see, but we're just pretty common, is as you're typing in a ticket, we have Confluence suggesting articles in the hopes that the user will just click on the article and have their knowledge without putting in the ticket. Also, we then, if there is a knowledge article, all we then do is on the backside is Confluence will be there suggesting articles to solve the problem. And if it's correct, we just click on the link and we close the ticket so that the users understand that there is a self-serve system for them that we're trying to learn and trying to make sure that the right articles are there. We have teams going, creating articles, watching them and making sure that they're relevant and up to date. So that's how we manage having so many users, but being able to serve all of them. So the last thing was to share some of my favorite apps inside of Jira Service Desk. So refine themes, and this is the one that I started working with Irene and her team at Dragon Agile. It gave us the ability to turn Jira into looking like Jira into a UI that looked like any other web page. It was graphical, button-based, easy to understand. It allowed us to get the data points we needed to make sure that tickets are going to the right spots without making our users feel like they're having to give us 100 different answers to just put in a ticket. At the end of the day, that's all they want. So this has been a great tool from a more customer-focused approach opposed to having the user just tell us everything. So it's been a great tool. Rich filter, we said we are using it for all of our visualizations. The regular filtering is obviously good in Jira, but as soon as you want to add that second or third cut is where rich filter goes in and really lets you understand the data and the visualizations. We're also using extensions. So some of our tickets will have more questions, especially on the engineering side. And so we cascade, hide the field and show the field so the user is not bombarded with the information and they can slowly fill out what they need. We'll also have hidden portals inside the business where maybe something that's being worked on. And then if a user though needs to be added to a ticket, they can be without affecting the security profile because it's just a hidden profile opposed to a secure one. So these are different features we're using inside of extensions. Like we saw, automation for Jira, it's a must-have. It's how we calculate. It's how we notify. We even will move tickets from a service desk to a development using automation rules. So this has been a huge tool for us for getting that automation and finding those little wins to help us move faster. Last but not least, Active Directory sync. So we have all of our AD information so we know who we're talking to. And SSO, which is single sign-on. So that means an employee doesn't have to learn a new password. They also don't have to sign up. As long as they're within the firewall, they are 100% in the system and running without having to worry about logins. So those are definitely my favorite apps that we are using inside of Jira, and ones that I generally recommend anyone I have the conversation with because they help your user experience be stronger, which is really very important about part of using Service Desk. And on that note, I will give it back to Irene.
Oh, thank you, Matt. So great story and experience that you shared with the audience, and I'm so glad to see that you mentioned that how the Jira Service Desk can help your agent unload so much work of your agent. You are just 1% of your whole corporation, right? 45 agents serving 4,500 customers. So it's great to hear that you are able to Jira Service Desk help your corporate, your organization with success. Thank you very much for sharing your stories. And now we come to the A session, and I actually do get a few questions here. So the first one, people asking, they want to see some beautiful portal designs. And I think the answer is already there. Matt have a great presentation with how ATS, with the help of defined for Jira, defined thing for Jira, that will make the UI looks just like any website with lots of background and icons to, and also better organized of all your tickets. So I think we answered that first question. And so the other one, so second question actually, Matt, that's for you. One audience wants to know what percentage of your volume is now resolved by just through the portal or self-service.
So I say that's a great question. I unfortunately don't have that answer. So the one issue is the user would have to check off that, yes, this solved my issue for me to grab that as a data point. And our users aren't doing that. They will look at the article. So what we're measuring is our trends on how many times articles are being viewed. So we're watching our trends to going up. There's attempts to correlate that with ticket counts. I would say we have not been able to do that, but what we're measuring is our effectiveness of our tickets and watching the trends that, yes, more people are going to Confluence, and that's how we're measuring currently.
Yeah, so that's a great answer, because it's not easy to measure. If the user don't vote to say, oh, this is resolved, then you can only use different information to make a guess how effective the article are being used. So great, cool. So I think that we got one more question here. So this audience asking, so how do I know, do I need one support portal for the whole company, or I should create multiple portals? So for that one, actually, it depends on your business needs. Like, and also like, is your portal public or restrict the portals, right? So you may need multiple portal if, say, you want to have some request type, just the customer like public facing, and another request type, another set request type, it's only meant for the internal use. Then definitely you have to separate the portals. And also like a different departments, some other usage, different departments, even within the your same company, you may want like a legal department. You don't want everybody need to access those request type. And you can also have multiple customer support portal and restrict the who can access which portal. So I think that will answer that question, hopefully. And I see another new question.
Without any, yes.
Well, again, for you, Matt.
Yeah, Mark, we could. So could we measure how much is reported by resolved without? So basically, measure the self-serve percentage by. We could. I don't know how to correlate that. So if we close the tickets with the article, I can measure that. But if a user just goes in and looks at an article, or they start to type something and see the article, I can't grab that. I can't see that unless they say, yes, I went to that article. I can see they looked at it, but I have no way to correlate. They wanted a fix, and then they went to Confluence instead. So currently we're choosing to measure over usageness as a way of, as a success for Confluence. But thank you.
Okay, hopefully that at least it provides some information there. Due to portal with by user. Okay, do you track portal visits by user? I think that will be the last question because time is running out. Are we able to provide some answer for that?
We're not tracking that right now, no.
Okay, so I think I'm going to, okay, thank you. So good. So thank you again for everyone So thank you for everyone who attended this webinar, and I hope there are some useful information for you to take away. And I would definitely thank Matt for doing this presentation with me. And here are some, if you need to drop us a message, you feel free, and I put the Matt's LinkedIn contact. And also, if you need to contact Dragon Agile, this is our email address, and welcome to take a look at our website. So thank you very much for everybody who attend the webinar, and I hope you all stay safe, and we all be able to go out very soon. Thank you very much. Bye-bye. Okay, Matt. So, good. Bye-bye.
Cheers.